Welcome to Anime and Biro again. This is the second episode. Today we're going to be drinking a South Korean beer called Original Beer. And it's got a nice little bear on it. There we go. It's 100% malt lager. It tastes really nice. And today we're going to be talking about female characters in anime. There's a problem in general with women and girls in anime. I think when I was a teenager, it was something that I couldn't quite put my finger on. As I grew, it became more and more apparent. I think what I started to realise was a lot of female characters in anime had barely any character development or personality. Most of them were just mass-produced idols for the protagonists or super stacked fan service models. A couple of questions we need to ask here. Why is this a problem? If it is a problem, why do we keep seeing it? Before we answer those questions, we should take a look at some classic examples of It would be a crime if I didn't start this by talking about Sakura from Naruto. This character gets so much shit, and it's honestly not hard to see why. She basically falls in love with a war criminal and never lets go, and when Naruto Shippuden finally finishes, she fucking marries him. He does try to kill her during this time as well, which I guess is a sign of affection. I don't know anymore. Like, girl, be honest. Are you good? Like, I'm sure there's somebody in the Leaf Village that, knows some sort of therapy jutsu or something. You can talk if you want to talk. I think even when she's in battle, she just feels a little weak in general. Like, a lot of the times where you see her attacks are just kind of shook off, like a slight misting of rain. I think one of the worst parts of her arc is when she wants to get stronger, so ends up going to Lady Tsunade for help, and she literally trains her to be strong. I feel like it was some very uneducated shot in the dark of trying to show a decent representation of a female character, but it just ends up falling flat, because they just shove her straight back into the same useless role of running in and getting hit, shouting somebody's name. I think after that point, she ends up helping a little bit, but then just fades back into the background, mainly doing nurse work, and eventually after Shippuden, getting the fate that most female protagonists in Boruto face. She got housewifed. I mean, I do understand how being a child soldier from like the age of 8 or 10 might make you want to have a quiet life, but still, let's just move on, I guess. Next character. I don't know why this one bothers me more than Sakura, maybe because Sakura was a lost cause to begin with. But this character had potential, I guess. Imagine your family are a bunch of magic bigots that decide you are too weak and send you to the lowest class of magic guilds. Despite being disgraced, you join but still have some of your pride and you want to prove your family wrong. Sounds pretty good, right? Well, no, apparently not, because we have to have an intense attraction to the protagonist, and we must do that by being very jealous and sometimes just wearing a bikini, because why not, right? She had such a good backstory, and she still could have had her Lady and the Tramp story with Asta. But no. There has to be some sort of competition on between whatever other woman decides to throw themselves at this child protagonist. The real issue here is a failure of character writing, and unfortunately the main target audience of these animes, which are roughly males aged 13 to 18, have been pigeonholed into this pubescent horniness category. I think that we need to give teenagers a little credit and stop assuming that they are testosterone-fueled horn dogs that will only watch an anime if you shove some half-assed romance arc or some busty girls fighting over a protagonist. Anyway, enough of the bad, let's look at the good. Panda senpai, 私の学ラン知らない？見てないな。そっか、どこ行っちゃったのかな。Man, Nobara has a special place in my heart because she sets the bar for all other female characters in anime going forward. In all the scenes she is in, you can actually feel her personality shine through. The Japanese voice actress does a great job with her lines and they are delivered perfectly with the animation. so the jokes and the quips have that extra kick.
飲み込んだ特級呪物を必勝ありえない衛生観念キモすぎ無理無理無理無理無理んだと
And when she is fighting as well, she actually has a role to play. She isn't defenseless, she isn't waiting to be saved.
降りてこいよクソ魔女一段
This scene when she is fighting with Momo is almost like a fourth wall break, a little dig at other writers, basically like, guys, be better. Just listen to the dialogue here, I love it.
女はね、実力があっても可愛くなければ舐められる。当然、可愛くっても実力がなければ舐められる。完璧も理不尽も答える義務がどこにある？てめえの人生は仕事か！男がどうとか女がどうとか知ったこっちゃねえんだよ。てめえらだけで勝手にやってろ。私は綺麗におしゃれしてる私が大好きだ。強くあろうとする私が大好きだ。私は藤崎野原なんだよ。
Woo! Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about.
I picked Nobara because I think she is the best example in Jujutsu Kaisen, but there are plenty of others in the anime that meet the gold standard when it comes to character writing. Anyway, next one.
You know, Jet, it's easier to divide 8 million by 2 than by 3. It's a nice even number.
Here we go. Is that right? And what do you know about hackers anyway? They might have been like that when you were young, but that was a long time ago.
What are you trying to say, Jet, that I'm starting to get old like you?
Well, you can't tell a woman's age by looking at her. Oh, wow.
And you can't tell what a woman will do by looking, so you have to be very careful.
Now, this is an oldie but a goodie. For those of the younger audience who haven't heard or seen of Cowboy Bebop, I highly recommend it. I think Faye Valentine is another good example of fan service done right. She is a bounty hunter in the year 2070, living bounty to bounty, ripping off or stealing, gambling, trying to live a lavish lifestyle once she gets any lump of money. The kind of future noir detective setting really lends itself to Faye's character, as she is living in a man's world and she knows how to manipulate the system she's in. Most of the time she's wearing revealing clothing and using her wit and her charm to try and obtain information, or romantically ambushing a bounty.
Hi.
What do you want, babe? You looking for some action?
Well, you might say that. A certain kind of action.
I'm all yours.
Put your hands up, Decker, my friend.
I feel in this way, while yes, she is fan servicey and she sometimes takes on the role of damsel in distress, we know in the first few episodes when she makes an appearance that this is simply a mask that she wears to get from A to B. You see a lot of character development with the four characters in general, Spike, Jet, Ed and Faye, but what is interesting to see in her arc episode is that when she starts to get sneak peeks at her past, her mask begins to drop and we see the true Faye, not a damsel in distress, but someone who doesn't know their own identity, an identity that was ripped from her because she was conned into debt.
Coming up with 30 million wulongs for the basic operation, in addition to 54 years of interest payments. How much is that?
273 million. Add the hospital fees to that, and the total is 300,028,000 wulongs.
Right. So, when you've paid that amount, you'll be free, you understand?
I don't understand.
Good. Then everything's just... What did you say?
Why are all the numbers there in red?
Those are all his debts, but they say debt is an asset.
His debts?
As most traumas do, it has created a mask or an armor which makes her manipulative, destructive, and quick to judgment or anger, and to show true vulnerability is a risk she only takes in that arc episode.
I want to know the truth. Tell me, who am I? Tell me where the lies end and the truth begins.
My point is, again, the character has a personality, she has depth, and this helps the audience, whatever gender they identify as, connect with that character. What is the takeaway from this? We've seen examples of good and bad, but what now? Well, I made 2 points that most bad female characters share: a lack of depth, personality, or history, or fan service or poorly executed romance arcs. If we couple these 2 points with the general target audience of anime, we get a recipe for disaster. I don't blame the audience per se. I mean, on the other side, there is definitely some pervy weeby culture rooted into some audience members. However, I feel that most of them are a product of their environment. While you could definitely blame marketing for advertising and promotional aspects of the animes, I feel most of the blame lies on the writers of the animes. I think the answer is they don't know. They don't know how to write female characters. And maybe they just don't want to know or even attempt to learn. Because flinging boobs onto a cardboard cutout and hoping it sticks has become the norm. And it's far easier than taking the time to actually think about backstory, personality, character development, likes, dislikes, so on and so on. That's going to be about it for today. As always, thanks so much for joining me. Please check out my socials in the description below, and if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. In the next episode, I'll be talking about male characters in anime, the good and the bad. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and please join me for a drink in the next one.